Today, we are cracking open some ancient wellness wisdom to talk about something called Agrya dravya. You can think of it as Ayurveda's greatest hits list. If you've ever felt totally buried by all the wellness advice out there, you are definitely not alone. I mean, there are endless options for herbs, diets, practices, so how do you even begin to figure out what's actually the best? Well, it turns out Ayurveda was asking that same exact question thousands of years ago. And the answer they came up with is this concept, Agrya dravya. It literally means the foremost or best substance. So imagine a carefully chosen, expert curated list of the number one absolute best choice for a specific health goal. So, how did they put together this ancient best of list? Let's take a look. Now, this isn't just some old folk wisdom. The whole idea of Agrya dravya comes straight from the foundational texts of Ayurveda. And as you can see, it's also being looked at and analyzed in modern scientific research, which creates this really cool bridge between ancient knowledge and what we understand today. So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll unpack what this greatest hits list really is. Then, we're going to dive into the top-ranked items in 3 big categories: medicines, foods, and even lifestyles. And finally, we'll talk about why this ancient list is actually super relevant right now. All right, let's get right into it. What exactly is this greatest hits list, this Agrya dravya? Honestly, the best way to wrap your head around it is to imagine a hall of fame for your health. Like an all-star team. For any specific job, say helping with digestion or calming your mind, Agrya dravya points to the one single most powerful go-to option. And we're not talking about a short list here. The Charaka Samhita, which is one of the cornerstones of Ayurveda, lays out 152 of these foremost things. And it covers everything you can imagine: herbs, foods, daily habits, even our mental states. The main ideas in these lists of the best substances are found in these 3 major classical texts. The fact that they're all consistent really shows that Agrya dravya is a central, really important concept in Ayurveda. So let's see how it actually works in practice, starting with medicine. First up is the category called Aushad, which is all about the foremost or best medicinal substances. The idea here is really about being efficient and powerful. Instead of today's approach of, stacking a bunch of different supplements, Aushad is about identifying the single best substance for a specific job. It's about finding the most direct and effective tool for whatever task is at hand. So let's look at some real-world examples from these texts. If you're looking for something that's antitoxic or Vishagna, Shirish is considered number 1. For any kind of skin issue, Kushtagna, Kladir is the go-to. Need some digestive support, Haritaki is foremost. And for respiratory health, Pipali is the top choice. See? The guidance is super specific and actionable. Okay, so that's medicine. But this concept isn't just about herbs. It also applies directly to the food we eat every single day, which is the Ahar category. Ahar is all about pinpointing the best and, just as importantly, the worst practices when it comes to our diet. It gives us really clear advice on which foods and habits are number 1 for either helping our health or hurting it. And this is just a perfect example. On the one hand, eating at regular, consistent times, they call it kolabojena, is listed as the single most important habit for good health. But on the flip side, irregular eating, vishamashana, is named the number 1 cause of digestive problems. It's a simple, powerful message. And the lists get even more fundamental. Food itself, Anna, is foremost for just sustaining life. Water, or Udaka, is the best life-giving substance you can have. Milk, Kshira, is number 1 for revitalizing the body. And barley, or Yava, is the best for, promoting regularity. It's like a guide to the absolute basics of our diet. Now for our third category, Vihar, which covers our lifestyle, our behaviors, and our daily routines. This is where Agrya gets really holistic. Vihar tells us it's not just about what we eat or drink, but how we live our lives. It identifies the actions, the habits, and even the thoughts that have the biggest positive or negative effect on our well-being. And just look at the range here. Mental cheerfulness, or samanasya, is named the foremost factor for a healthy pregnancy. Fasting, or upavasa, is the best therapy for a fever. Then, on the other side, overexertion, ativyayama, is the number 1 cause of exhaustion, while sleeping during the day, divaswapna, is the main reason we feel sluggish and heavy. This is just super practical, everyday advice. Okay, so we've got these ancient lists of the best medicines, foods, and habits. But why is this so important for us right now, today? Well, in our world of just overwhelming choice, this ancient system gives us something that's incredibly valuable: clarity. It cuts right through all the noise and the confusion, and it gives us a time-tested, effective starting point. It's a trusted guide, not just another passing trend. And get this, the system goes surprisingly deep. It's not just about what herbs to take or what foods to eat. Agrya even defines the foremost qualities of a good doctor, highlighting things like practical experience and talking through cases to resolve any doubts. It just shows you how truly holistic this approach to health is. And for practitioners today, the advantages are really clear. Relying on a single powerful substance is often way more cost-effective. These things have a safety record that's been proven over centuries of use. It gives you a logical first step when choosing a treatment, and it provides a reliable option when you're facing a really tough clinical decision. This quote from the research paper that analyzed these texts, it really says it all, doesn't it? The confidence they have in this system is just immense. They're basically saying it's the definitive starting point, a tool so reliable you can use it without a question of failure. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. In a world that's constantly telling us that having more options is always better, this idea of Agrya dravya asks us to think about the opposite. What is the quiet power, the profound sense of clarity that comes from simply knowing what is best?